Hello, you join us in Sardinia, an island off the coast of Italy in the Mediterranean Sea. And the video for the Aston Martin Vanquish is going to start in just a second, but because it's a V12, we thought we'd celebrate and tease you with something.
Yep, coming up soon is the first episode of the second ever full Throttle House adventure, and it features 2 V12s.
That we bought.
Yes.
Stupidly.
Yeah.
And they keep breaking.
You think spending $500,000 on this is a bad idea? Nope. It's spending 12 grand on 2 old V12s. Yeah.
Yeah, the Vanquish will vanquish all of its enemies, but we have chosen to vanquish all of our brains.
This is why we write things down before
we never write things down.
We probably should.
Did it roll the banner? Do they?
You're watching Throttle House. I'm Thomas.
And I'm James.
And this is the Aston Martin V12 Vanquish.
The Aston Martin Vanquish. The real deal, the big wig, the dog's cojones. The one that Aston Martin prizes as their halo car. And it is, if you ignore the Valkyrie, and the Valhalla, and the Victor, and the Valor. But this isn't as limited as those. They're gonna make 1,000 of these a year. Compared to its siblings, the wee baby Vantage and the DB12 middle child, this reigns as king, with 4 more cylinders, a profile so good that it's completed Tinder, and the wheelbase of a super yacht.
You can count how many new 2-door V12s can be purchased on one hand these days, but considering this costs the same as the GDP of Madagascar, is just being part of that group enough, as Aston claims, for it to vanquish all its enemies. Well, thanks to Peloti, who have supported this video, and whose driving shoes we have been happily living with, traveling with, and driving with, today we get to find out.
About the new Vanquish. The first is it's stupidly quick. 824 horsepower from a 5.2 litre twin turbocharged V12. 738 pound-feet of torque. There is just torque. See, that's ridiculous speeds. What is a Sardinian prison like? Asking for a friend. I don't normally care about the top speed of a car. This does 214 miles an hour. It's almost so irrelevant, except in this car, it reaches those speeds so quickly that it's not a boasting number anymore. It's just a need-to-know basis. It's monstrous. They quote a 3.2 second to 60 time, but you hit that so fast, it's what happens afterwards that matters in this, because it just pulls and pulls and pulls. And right now, where it's slightly damp, it reminds you that you are in a rear-driven sports car. And those numbers are impressive, and they are class-leading, which is what Aston Martin love to boast about. But they consider the Dickson Cilindri from Ferrari the competitor here, and yeah, it's got 5 horsepower less, but it also weighs significantly less. This is a 3,900 pound dry weight quoted, so into the 4,000s for curb. And the Dickson Cilindri does it all without the addition of 2 turbos, which despite in this car creating a really warm, really expensive sound, it isn't wild. It doesn't scream like the Ferrari. It doesn't slap like the DBS we drove a couple of years ago. It just feels very refined, very Aston Martin. And if you want to just rev this out and be a lunatic at a stoplight, it doesn't really make any crazy sounds. It's just... yeah, turbochargers. There's going to be some sacrifice there, and that's in the sound department. However, that is still an incredibly enjoyable experience. So they've done what they can to make it feel linear enough that it's fun to run through the gears. But there is just torque everywhere. And Aston said they've done something quite special to achieve that. This Aston Martin has something called Boost Reserve. Imperceptible to the driver, says Aston. It's a system that restricts intake flow to build boost pressure in the background during things like partial throttle, so that at the appropriate moment, when you want it, it gives you everything immediately.
Alright, cut. It's good.
Okay.
You're checking my battery.
It's sort of like the guy on a date who's, you know, the Brussels sprouts are starting to act up, but he's
Yeah.
got to wait for her to leave, and he's been holding it in.
It's like a sphincter.
yeah,
clench,
yeah,
right?
you know, everywhere.
Yeah, I did that last night.
So theoretically, if I sort of stay half throttle here, then it's doing that magic thing, and then I go.
Yeah, I might just have to take Aston's word for it. Maybe I was wrong to expect Boost Reserve to be a magical special turbo lag eliminator, but everything feels exactly like what I would expect a modern 738 pound-feet turbocharged V12 to be. Nothing more, nothing less.
Also not on the highlight list is the ZF transmission in this, because this 8-speed, it's a bit dull. It's a bit dull. You know, on downshifts it doesn't do anything particularly exciting. On upshifts, there's sort of a bit of chatter from the exhaust, which is titanium in this spec. But really, upshifts aren't that quick. Downshifts aren't that quick. However, if you are using it in just GT mode, and you're not being a lunatic in the Sardinian hills in Sport Plus and manual, it really is, that's where this transmission makes sense. Because compared to a dual clutch, it is a lot more refined. So they've chosen that, and I think that's probably a solid Aston Martin decision. That is fart out of the side of your mouth fast. Not an honour many cars get to wear.
That engine's pretty crazy, isn't it? But what's even crazier, and what James didn't mention, is that V12 is all new. Well, I'm sure there's some engineering carryover, but Aston Martin has engineered a new V12. It's 2024. What are they doing? That's insane. It seems like these days everything is going to 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder hybrids. A V12 is rare. Even the new Ferrari hypercar is a V6. This has a new V12. But not only does it have a new V12, unlike the DB12, which shared the DB11's chassis from before, this, underneath, is an all-new car. All right, you have to understand, there's sports cars and there's GT cars. Sports cars are supposed to be deft and light and nimble, and GT cars are meant to be big and powerful and fast and comfortable. But nowadays, everybody seems to want to just combine everything together, make everything do everything, and often it doesn't work. This is not one of those times, because the Vanquish is fan-flippin-tastic. There's so many systems in a modern car like this, all working together all the time, doing a gazillion calculations. There's brakes, suspension, differentials, engine, transmission. Everything's working together, and someone's had to sit there on a computer and test it and try and make it all feel a certain way, depending on what mode you're in. And sometimes that doesn't always work. Sometimes they miss some calculations somewhere, so to speak. but everything seems to just be so dialed in this car. I can't. I'm trying to make it misstep, and I can't. It's doing every single thing that I want it to do. For example, this has a new limited slip differential compared to the old Vanquish. It's electronic. It locks up electronically, and it can lock up like that, which means I'm getting this kind of BMW M car rear end feel, where the rear just kind of kicks out quite predictably and exactly in line with my foot. And then you can do some really funky stuff when you use that differential to change the way the car turns as you're decelerating into a corner. So it can make it feel smaller than it is. It's huge. Have you seen it? It's not a light car, but it does not feel that heavy. The steering is predictable. Adds weight as you load up the tires into the corner. It's not talking to me too much, but just like the DB12, I think it's the right amount of communication for a big GT car like this. And the suspension is fantastic. I'm in Sport Plus mode right now. And for a smooth Italian mountain road like this, it's just wonderful. It soaks up the bumps, lets a little bit of weight transfer happen, but it's not harsh at all. And then we were cruising on the highway with it on the way here in GT mode, and the ride is good. It is exactly what I expect for a car like this. And as James said, it's really f***ing quick, this car. It really, really is. And I have yet to tire of the sound of that V12. I think this exactly perfectly splits the difference between a 12-cylinder Ferrari and a big Bentley GT car. It is very much an Aston Martin. I feel cool.
You are cool. You just rolled up in a Illuminite silver Aston Martin Vanquish in Sardinia. You're in a Bond film.
Oh my God, it just feels so good to hear all those words said at me.
Except not the Bond film that actually happened in Sardinia. That's a Lotus Esprit.
That was a Lotus.
Yes.
Okay.
But I've realised why everyone's driving so fast, by the way.
Yeah, we're in Italy.
No, but there's no motorways on the island of Sardinia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so everything's a motorway. When nothing's a motorway.
Sense. There's a lot of pent-up energy.
It's pent up, exactly like the turbo system in this car.
Yes, waiting to be released.
I've learned some more facts about Sardinia, unrelated to Aston Martins. So, highest rate of centenarians. I think I got that word right.
Yeah, it's a blue zone.
It's a blue zone.
It's a blue
zone.
Zone.
Super healthy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the most amount of people over 100, and then anywhere else in the world.
That's pretty crazy.
Which means it's
But
safe.
you want to know why? Because it's like nice and calm and
stress.
relaxing. You know what it is there's no motorways. That's the reason. The stress from motorways.
Correlational or causal?
We don't know. Anyway, can I say that there's a difference between a Ferrari and an Aston Martin? Very, very much. Like, other than the obvious things, like the screaming nature of it. Just that if you roll up in a Ferrari and you roll up in an Aston Martin, the perception of the person that you are is different. I won't elaborate any more than that.
We don't say these things on Throttle House. We don't go into that.
but if you roll up in this, everyone's like, that's a cool chap.
Disagree.
Whoa.
I think a Roma, Ferrari Roma, has the same vibe.
Yeah, but if you were...
And the same side profile in some ways.
I know,
remove that little vent, and that's a Roma side profile.
I agree.
Slash RX Vision.
We'll talk about the side profile in a second because it's extremely long and there's a lot to talk about. It'll take a while, actually. If you were at a gala...
A gala?
Gala.
You say gala?
Yeah, you say gala. Shut
that doesn't
up.
sound as fancy.
Okay, we're here at a gala. No, that sounds weird. It sounds like you're saying garlic. Anyway, there would be a Roma, there would be a Vanquish.
Yes.
There would be a Bentley Continental.
You don't think a Temerario or a...
No, I don't think so. I don't think a Revuelto belongs there. It's too...
I'm picturing a high-heeled leg coming out of a Revuelto.
You can't elegantly get out of a Revuelto, but you can elegantly get, because the doors go up a little bit.
Doors do go up
so it's easy to step out, and then you pass the keys to the valet and go, thank you, sir, right? You see, it's James, it's so cool.
But
the brand I don't say this very often, but this badge carries a lot of class for me.
I agree. I
Yes.
agree, and this one's got the black badging, which is even classier.
Classier.
But the Vanquish has more enemies to vanquish than just its competitors, because you need to be able to justify this over a DB12 or a Vantage. And now they all have a very similar front end with this absolutely gaping mouth.
Gaping is the word. You can actually see where it should end. See where it curves and it's a little bit convex this way, it should stop there.
Yeah, which is where the previous gen stops.
And we asked Aston Martin, so why is it so big? And they're like, you needed more air.
It needs the air.
To cool the engine.
It's a big engine.
It's a
powerful.
really
We need
big
air.
engine, yeah.
But we do have these gills here, which look quite wonderful. And I've learned
Yeah.
in the past, the more grills there are on the hood of an Aston Martin, the more aggressive it is.
That's true. Yes.
So if there is ever a Vanquish S, I'm sure there'll be like
there'll be another one right
complimentary
here.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
So
I think
yeah,
this is just other than I agree the grill's a little bit too big.
The front end lets it down just slightly.
But the thing is that you kind of look at it from here, right? And I can't really see the grill from here. It's the way the nose comes down here, and then the straight line that goes right along the side here, blending into the haunch with the roof. It's
a big
from
old
the
haunch.
profile. Oh my God, this is a good-looking car.
And then the rear is particularly unique. This is
Yes.
where it really differs. Like, if I see this in traffic, I'd be like, is that the DB12?
Yeah.
From the front, but then from the rear, you've got
It's
this
very, very different. This is
Yeah.
kind of like Valhalla.
Valkyrie, the
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie tail lights, and then this is
Yeah.
their shield they've got here.
And you can option this in a different color.
Yeah, we've got it in carbon fiber, but
Yeah.
it can come in a contrasting color. And I've seen some wacky options on the website.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would do anything else other than that because I think that looks good.
And I asked them, I was like, what if I want a purple exterior with yellow? And they said they won't limit buyers. They'll, whatever you want to do.
Now you say that, but then the guy that's painting it's going to be like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, but it's an English bloke. He doesn't care. He just knocked back 3 beers.
Speaking of an
Alright.
English bloke, let's take a look at the engine, right? Right.
Oh, V12, carbon fiber, nice bracing.
That is
That's a brace.
fully Aston Martin engine as opposed to an AMG V8.
Right, but it still gets a plaque.
Yes, final inspection by Spencer Creeman.
Yeah. So apparently he was called Spencer Smith. And
Then
when
he started working on V12 Aston Martin
Yeah,
engines, and
and
that just happened.
he started creaming.
Yeah. This is cool as well. This like extra bit of like, forged carbon. I don't know.
Non-woven.
Sure.
Non-woven.
Non-woven. We don't know if it's forged or not.
That's not the word, is it? Non-woven.
No.
Technically true though.
Yeah.
Not as strong, but lightweight.
Yes. Carbon fiber hood. Very cool.
Yeah. So we got. I mean, it's weird because as you said, this is a cool car. You rock around and you feel cool in.
Yeah.
There's some performance chops going on. Like we have carbon ceramic brakes as standard, which
Yeah.
have not been difficult or squeaky or
No, they've been
weird.
really, really nice actually.
And they've held up to our aggressive canyoning.
Canyon's so hard.
What's weird is the DB12 got PSS 5s from Michelin. They've gone with
Yes.
Pirellis for this because apparently it prioritizes ride comfort
And
still,
noise levels.
Yeah, and still gets the performance they need.
Yeah. Just back 1 second to the way that this drives. Do you agree that we agree it's perfectly dialed in, right? Like
Yeah.
in terms of like the suspension and the way everything, there's nothing that's like wrong about it.
Yeah, some cars betray the way they look. This
Yes.
drives exactly how it looks.
It drives exactly like you think it would, except it's probably a bit faster than you think it is because it's really friggin' fast. But it is let down a little bit by the transmission. The
Yeah.
more time I spent with it,
Yeah, it's just slightly dim-witted
Yeah.
when you're not trying to control it, and when you
Yeah.
are trying to control it, it's slow. And
It's-
like there were quite a few moments, and you might have even
Yeah.
seen it when I was doing the review, where
Yeah.
you hit red line because you're trying to time the red
Yeah.
line, and you like
that's definitely a low point.
It's like a
But
broken
you know what
rubber.
isn't a low point? Is the interior. Can we look?
yes. Forest green.
Forest green. Actually, there's 3 places for it. Because there's 3 places you can option to be different.
Right.
Headliner, Zone A, and Zone B, whatever that is. I can't.
Environment 1
I
and
can't-
Environment 2.
Sorry, right.
Call it by its real name.
I'm sorry. And I can't know what the different environments are because everything's been optioned with a forest green, which isn't a bad thing because it's classy.
We've also got black chrome jewellery accents,
Yep.
carbon fibre weave.
Yeah.
This they're very proud about, the panoramic roof.
Yep.
That means more, I think, when there are rear seats, and there cannot be options.
Yeah, because I can't see it right now. It's
Yeah,
completely
it's
pointless to me.
It's just here.
Yeah.
If I sit back, I can enjoy it, but then it didn't need to be panoramic.
Right. I didn't need to go all the way back.
And then it could be lighter.
Yeah.
Like it's 500-pound lighter competition, the Didici Slingy.
I think that the interior of this, other than being very similar to the DB12 and now the DBX and all Aston Martins, is beautiful.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah, very nice.
It's just classy. The leathers are super high quality. This is nice. Real buttons to use. This little bit
Apart from
right
heated
here.
and cooled, which are capacitive.
Yes. Well, they have a click to them though. No, they don't.
They don't.
No, they don't. That's a loud seat.
It's loud, but it is nice. It is
is
effective.
nice.
You can
Yeah.
be loud and effective. You can't just be No, you can just be effective. That'd be good.
You can just be effective, but not loud. That would be better,
really
actually.
excellent. These are the sports seats. You can get some carbon fiber bucket seats.
I don't think I would change any. This is perfect.
Comfort is where this car shines.
Yeah.
And that's sort of in its personality with the steering, which is the same wheel as the DB12.
Yep. The gauge cluster isn't any different, and the gauge cluster itself it could be better. Some of the colors are a bit boring.
Just fine.
I don't know. Yeah, it could be better. Like back in the day, Astons had these like aluminum gauges, and the tack went this way, and the revs went that way, and it was beautiful.
But they're both 10.25 inch screens.
10.25. I'll get in bed all day for 10.25.
And we've got on pretty well with the Apple CarPlay, the wireless Apple CarPlay, and the Bowers and Wilkins sound system. Thomas and I have done quite the Bond theme film.
Don't tell anyone that
Session in this car.
It's not cool.
It's not cool?
No one to drive around listening to Bond tunes? It's not cool. It's like tacky.
The writing was on the wall, mate.
Okay. Again.
Yeah.
Anyway, this little back bit here is pretty cool. Upper deck.
It's useless.
Yeah, if you wanted to do an upper decker, that would be the place to do it. It's like woven.
Is that something to do with toilets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone know what an upper decker is? I don't know.
Classy upper decker. You can see that, and when you drive, you can see that in the rearview mirror, and it looks very nice.
Yeah,
The wovenness. And then you've got this carbon fiber bar. I've seen pictures of this with very bespoke luggage bag things.
Oh, that like fit in the...
That fit in these spaces.
Yeah. There's like leather straps and stuff.
And it optimizes
Classy.
Look, it's a classy place to be. Everything's classy.
That's stitched. That's nice. General comments. If you get in a Ferrari 12 Cilindri...
It's annoying to say.
That's dumb already, isn't it?
I don't mind it because it sounds cool, but if you say it more than twice in a conversation, that's when you feel it.
You feel it, yeah. It's getting really hot in here. Can I put a window down? Double glaze. Double glaze. Yeah. Sorry, if you get into DG Cilindri, it's wilder and brighter and
there's a big yellow Ferrari badge.
Yellow Ferrari badge.
One silver transmission-y thing.
You would have to interact with the infotainment at some point, which would get you killed.
I wonder if that's going to age back. This will be an era of Aston Martins where everything just works really well. Whereas the Ferraris, if they step away from the capacitive touch, that will end up being...
It's going to be the one that no one wants.
Sort of like...
Well, that's not true because people buy them just because of the car they are, the engine they have, and no one really cares. So it doesn't actually matter. But the point is that you could live with this. If you were going to drive a very long distance in the Revuelto, only other V12.
Yes,
those
are the three.
Yeah,
Revuelto, Didici Cilindri,
and this. So that car, we did do a long distance drive in it, and everything was fine apart from trying to use the infotainment.
Yes, not great.
It was crap, and that's a thing that you want to listen to music, you want to know where you're going. It's part of traveling, right?
Yeah.
Ferrari also not good because the capacitive touch is crap. This though is just, it feels like an Audi or something.
So the British manufacturer comes through with the most intuitive
They
system.
were up against the Italians. It's not...
Listen, this isn't without... Here, turn the engine on a sec. I want to show you.
Okay, yeah, sure, I sure can.
And then we'll close the windows. This isn't without...
Oh, the starter motor noise. But we did notice something about the fans, though.
If you
this
turn
is
off,
an issue, yeah, okay.
If you turn off one of the fans on the side...
Yeah, go ahead. It's a bit of a dominant feature in the sound department when you turn one of these things off. That's a $500,000 car doing that.
It turns off when you...
But no, it's... Now it's
So you
up.
must have them all open.
You have to have everything open.
There had to be something British.
Yeah, that's right.
And to be fair,
Yeah.
air conditioning is not the normal in Britain. So the fact that they haven't figured it out completely...
You guys really don't understand air conditioning, do you?
No, so that's what I mean. Give them some credit. This is brand new technology for Britain. But what isn't brand new technology is the engine under that hood, even though it's a new engine. But to do a turbocharged V12 now, while everyone else is not, means that this is quite an interesting car. However, I want to say that versus the DB12, I don't get that much more out of it. If all you want is a classy, well-leathered...
Did you turn my heated seat on?
No, that was you, because capacitive touch is a pain in the bum.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if classy, well-leathered, well-customized, powerful, turbocharged Aston Martins is what you want, although I'll say this is more of a head turner, this car. The DB12, and then
It does a lot.
It does a lot.
It does a lot.
But then this is a head turner.
But it's called the Vanquish.
You gotta admit, Aston Martin knows how to name a car. And I will admit, I genuinely have a hard time looking past the cool factor of a car like this. But putting on my big boy journalism pants, I can tell you that while this is an enormously powerful, comfortable, luxurious distance crusher, I can see how you might have a hard time convincing yourself that you'd take one over a 12-cylinder Ferrari. But perhaps you desire the more understated, sophisticated nature of a Halo Aston Martin.
Could it have been a bit more wild? Yeah, even equipped with the titanium exhaust, it's not even close in personality to the last V12 Aston we drove, the DBS Superleggera, which this outpowers. Nor does it have the naturally aspirated wail of its predecessors. But perhaps they've left some drama for an S model or something? Instead, this Vanquish exemplifies and exaggerates all things power, comfort, and presence, gaping mouth and all. Thanks for watching. And a big thank you to Pelote for supporting this adventure. We're both wearing the Shift shoes in this video, but they have new styles and colours and apparel that now ships to over 50 countries. One could even say they're creaming good. I'm sorry, Spencer. I'm sure you're incredibly professional and we're not, and that's just the way it is. Anyway, find your own set of Pelotes by using the discount link in the description. Thanks for watching.